to this momentous event with our own very Mr. Anthony Brogdon, author, historian, economic historian, who is going to tell us a whole lot about black businesses. I myself, I'm here to learn because in my own thinking of a layman, I did not believe blacks own businesses in this country in the 1800s.
Yeah.
But today, we would be listening to a master class on black businesses. I'm not going to steal the show because our guest speaker will do it all.
Yes.
But before I give him the floor, I want to thank Mayor Ford. Mayor Ford, give Mayor Ford a round of applause. Because
You know?
thank you. Mayor Ford, the longest serving mayor of Tuskegee, an airman by himself, he had to train to fly right here at Tuskegee because he could not be mayor of Tuskegee without flying. There is an artwork exhibited in the library done by your own, by yours truly. You fill in the blank
Yes.
about Mayor Ford.
Yes.
He's not just a politician, wonderful actor. I met Mayor Ford the first time on stage, acting Toussaint Louverture. You might not even know who Toussaint Louverture is,
Yes.
but he is an emblematic black person. And I am not surprised that when Mayor Ford heard Brother Anthony is coming to give us this talk, he couldn't miss it for anything. So I just want to thank Mayor Ford, and I thank you all for coming. And I will give the opportunity to Mr. Brogdon to give us a speech. Listen carefully, get your questions together, all right? Get your questions, ask questions, be informed. Along this event, I am going to recognize a number of students who had also participated in interdisciplinary seminar series organization like this. They've either participated by presenting papers at conferences, and they would be recognized along Mr. Brogdon. So, Mr. Brogdon, I want to give you a TU welcome. TU!
You know?
TU!
You know?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm gonna stand.
Help yourself.
I'm gonna start it off by saying this. I'm from Detroit,
Detroit.
Motor City, born and raised. And I got on the airplane. What's the day? Thursday. I got on the airplane Tuesday to come down here. I'm going to Selma for the bridge crossing.
Lord, Selma.
Yeah, I'm going to Selma. I was there last year. This year is the 60th anniversary. And I'm excited to be here, be back in Alabama, excited to be in Selma to commemorate what happened 60 years ago when those people gave their lives for strangers.
Yes.
So that we can learn how to vote and be active in politics and have more rights. So, to tell you a little bit more about myself, I'm kind of new to this. When I say new to this, as I was telling the doctor, I've only been doing this probably since 2017. I released a documentary called Business in the Black. And what happened was I found out that there were slaves who owned businesses.
Right.
You might not have never heard that before. Slaves who owned businesses. There were slaves who went to college. There were 3 HBCUs open before slavery ended. Lincoln, Cheney, and Wilberforce. Cheney was 1837. Who was going there but black folks who could have been enslaved? Now, I was a decent student in school. I didn't sleep in all the classes and what have you, but for somehow that got past me that there were greatness in us back in those days. Because all that I heard of, for the most part, was about the beat down and civil rights and the dogs and so on and so forth. That's all they taught me. And I didn't know that there were slaves who went to college. I didn't know that there were slaves who owned businesses. Wasn't told to me, and I'm tripping. I'm like, I'm a decent student, and if I would have heard that, I would have been propelled so much more. I would have been inspired, motivated to be black. And maybe my teachers didn't know this. I suspect they didn't, because I only found out by Google search. I stumbled across this and said, dang, no joke. Because I was wondering, how was it possible? I thought that they had their foot on our neck completely, and we could not do anything other than what they told us. We couldn't eat what we wanted. We couldn't wear the clothes we wanted. It was just barbaric. Wasn't always the case. And as there are you that go to this college, you find a way to make it. There were brothers and sisters who did the same thing in the 1800s. I'll start with this guy. I always start with this guy because it's an amazing story. He was born in 1777. His name is Frank McWhorter. Frank McWhorter was born enslaved. His enslaver was the guy who built the houses in the plantation and the community. Not all enslavers were farmers. Somebody got to build the houses. Yeah. That was Frank's guy. But my man got Frank under his, telling him what to do. So he told Frank, hey man, I want you to go out there and get the lumber. I want you to go get the nails. I want you to do this and do that. Frank said, cool. Frank got so good at it, he told the guy that you ain't got to do this no more. Let me run this. The guy said, well, cool. Now he's charging money. Yeah, you ain't building the houses for free. So he's charging money. Frank got so smooth at it, he told the guy, asked him, hey, can I keep a little bit of money? The guy got a little compassion on Frank. He says, yeah, you can keep some. Frank started doing it on the side in the middle of the night. Frank made so much money that he bought his freedom and the freedom of 18 other people. They call him Free Frank. They ain't gonna tell you these stories. They ain't tell me this. I'm like, what? How was this possible? Then my man was so tough that he moved off the plantation, he left Kentucky and he moved to Illinois. And he bought land and he incorporated his own town called New Philadelphia, Illinois. He's the first black man to do it. And it's my town, I'm the mayor, like Mayor Ford. This is how we're gonna run things in my town. I'm like, what the heck? How did this happen? Because we figure out a way to overcome our circumstances. And we're going to do that even today. I'm not getting political with you. I ain't going down that road. But we're going to figure out a way. We're going to figure out a way to graduate from Tuskegee University. And we're going to figure out a way to be solid citizens in this America. Because we need y'all to be solid citizens in America. You're going to figure it out. Nothing can stop you. There was a black guy named C.R. Patterson. Check this story out. C.R. Patterson was the guy on the plantation that he fixed the horse and buggy. You know, the wheel gonna come off eventually. It's on the dirt road, bricks and all that other stuff. The rope gonna break, the seat gonna break. C.R. Patterson, hey, C.R., go out there and fix it. Oh yeah, okay, boss, I'll go fix it. Slavery ended, C.R. Patterson went into business, fixing horse and buggies. Boy, smooth. C.R. Patterson, he gets married. He got a son named Frederick. He sends his son to Central State University in Ohio. His son studies engineering. His son comes back to the business. Then, now it's about early 1900s, the cars become motorized. There was a black-owned car manufacturing company in Greenfield, Ohio called Greenfield Motors. They didn't tell me this. And he was beating Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a mean guy, and he only had a black car. All his cars looked the same because he was doing them off the assembly line. C.R. Patterson, he putting headrests and probably sunroofs and everything else, and his car was better. He couldn't charge it as cheaply though. He had 15 employees. And the way I found him was, I'm backing up to tell you a little bit more about myself. I host a podcast. It's called Strong Inspiration, seen around the world. I interview people to tell Black history stories. I've been fortunate to interview Honorable Johnny Ford. So one day his descendants, they hit me up. We heard your podcast. Let me tell you how we found out about our grandfather. The house was being sold. They look in the basement, there's a bunch of papers with brochures. They said, what? They didn't even know. Ask your parents some of them stories. Y'all got some greatness in your family. Somebody in your family owned something, did something, what have you, survived something. Let me give you an example of that. I interview a guy on my podcast. I'm taking you all over the place, right? The guy tells me that his great-great-grandfather almost got lynched in Troy, Alabama. It's the 1950s. Insurance man come by trying to collect the premium. The wife said, I ain't got it. I could have been 20 cents, 30 cents, what, I don't know what it was. He smacks her, she smack him back, get him out the house. He comes back 2 hours later, he raped her in the house. Ooh, that's bad. They come looking for the dad later that night. They got him at the tree with the rope around his neck. He's in a Masonic organization. There's a distress call. He does the distress call. The white guy up under the road hears this and he let him go. He ends up in Detroit. And his family thrived. He said, I'm not going to let my family go through that. All his sons and daughters went to college. We ain't going through that no more. And so I couldn't believe that there were these black people who own businesses. There's a lady, how about this? Madam C.J. Walker really was not the first black millionaire. She had a lot of money. She was wealthy. She was worth $1 million. But she worked for a black lady before she got started, Annie Malone. Annie Malone was in the hair business. Annie Malone had got very wealthy, but at the same token, she wasn't as flamboyant as Madam Walker. Madam Walker made her money in 13 years. She was 37 when she started, and she was 51 when she died. The other thing about this, when you're in business and you got this whatever nature that you do, your whatever career, if you got a little good, I'm going to help other people, then things go a long way for you. That's what happened with her. She said, I want to help women be self-sufficient. You can open up a hair salon, put my name on it, that'd help your hair salon grow, and it make me look good. That's what Madam Walker did. There was a lady named Mary Ellen Pleasant, rich black woman. This is like 1800s. She got brothels, she owned land out there in California. The founder of San Francisco, co-founder if you want to say, is a black man named William Leesdorf. The largest farmer that was of that time was a black guy named Julius Groves. They called him the Potato King. He couldn't even read and write. But he knew how to grow them potatoes because he knew the soil. He put the minerals in there. The potatoes came tasty. They were bigger. And he had a sense of business. Nobody can stop you if you want to make it. That's my moral of the story. That's what I talk about. I call this good black history. This is going to make you feel better. And you need to. I tell people, I tell you, I was in Philadelphia. I spoke at a community college. And the first thing I said to them, ain't nothing wrong with black people. One lady stood up, she said, I ain't never heard that before. She said, I said, really? She said, ain't nobody never told me that. All we hear is how bad we are. Oh, we late and all that. I had a white guy come to my house to do some housework, and he was late. And did a terrible job. It ain't just us. There's a ton of them kind of stories out there. There was a guy named Reverend Preston Taylor. 1800s. He had a construction company. He won the contract to build 400 miles of railroad and became very wealthy from Mount Sterling to Richmond, Virginia. 1800s. We did it then and we do it now. That's the moral of the story. That's the catch. Not everybody got to be a business owner, but whatever you be, just think about how you can take it to the next level. I went to Martha's Soul Food restaurant over here in Montgomery. Yeah, I went there yesterday. I can't come to a town and talk all this black history and then eat a non-black restaurant. That don't make sense. So I went out there, she was there. She gets to telling us how she started out when she was on welfare, am I right? And welfare and all that other stuff. She painted the walls herself. She said, I painted them myself. I found me a cooker. I found me a stove. And if you know where her restaurant and how big it is now, you start somewhere, you go someplace else. There's all these kind of stories of black entrepreneurs back in the 1800s. Back in the day. I wrote a book about it. I got 30 of them in my book. There were black banks everywhere. Tulsa, Oklahoma was not the only black Wall Street. If there was a black community, there were black people coming together because, check this out. All right, you're going to tell me I can't come in the front door of your restaurant. You're going to tell me that I can't come in the front door of your clothing store. I can't even try to close on. If I touch a clothes, I better pay for it. I'm tired of that. So somebody says, I'm opening up a clothing store. In Detroit, we had a whole district called Black Bottom, thriving. And every city had something like that. It was one street, a block, or something. You know what it was here in Tuskegee. Because that was black folks saying, we're going to do for ourselves. So now you tell me I can't come in the front door. I can't try to close on. You treat me bad. I can't sit inside to eat. All right, I tell you what I do. I'm going to get my own. I'm going to start my own thing. And then you get mad at me because I do my stuff. I ain't trying to mess with you. I ain't trying to hurt you. I'm leaving you alone. I've been to Tulsa, Oklahoma. The black folks had money out there because they had that oil. They found oil on some of their land. I've been to some of them. Then they built them colleges and them churches and them libraries. And them people was hungry for education. They was thirsty. We gonna make something for ourselves. We ain't got to go on the other side of the railroad tracks. Y'all can have it, no problem. So then, after they do this and they build this thing and it's going so well, then they get mad at them for doing it. And this is what's crazy. I got to tell you this story because when I was out there, I didn't know this. The guy that got caught with the white girl in the elevator, they were dating. They end up getting married in Massachusetts. I was kind of mad, like, damn, dude, all that happened, you still loved her that much? That's crazy. But nonetheless, them black folks fought back, though. They ain't take that. The bombs only came when we was winning. And then, after it all happened, all of this devastation that they did, they built Tulsa up even better. There was a period where it was even more thriving than it was before. They don't want to tell you that story because of the resilience that we have. Don't want you to know that. Want you to sit down and think, oh, me, oh, mine. I couldn't believe it. I was in one place and I was showing this movie I did on this same topic, right, called Business in the Black. It's streaming on Amazon. So I got people in the movie, they 70, 80, 90 years old. They talking about how great it was back in the day, what have you. After we see the movie, everybody feeling good. I know I was. Somebody reached out, this is how we think about it. What's wrong with black business today? I said, damn, why is that your first question? Why you want to go there? We got billionaires. And you want to say what's wrong with us? So what I tell people is give me 15 minutes. Don't say nothing wrong with us. One lady stood up and said she can't even do it. We've been too indoctrinated. Man, we fought against slavery. There was a guy that was so mad that about being enslaved, he built a box. He shipped himself in a box. They call him Henry Box Brown. I ain't having this no more. He shipped it from someplace in the South, put it on, and this is what was so smart about it. On the box, he wrote this side up. So then he put, he had help. You gotta have help. So he had help. They shipped it to Philadelphia. On the way, somebody turned the box upside down. He says he was about to die because the blood was gushing to his head. Lord has it, because that guy does step in all the time. Lord has it, somebody turned the box right side up and he made it. He got to Philadelphia. He was a hero in Philly. Henry Box Brown. Well, that story goes, he now big mouthing up in Philly. Let me tell you how I escaped, They went looking for him. He ended up going to Canada. There was a guy that worked on this Confederate ship. I'm your slave. You tell me what you want me to do. I can't tell you. I can't stop you or whatever. He was working on the Confederate ship down in South Carolina. What happened was he noticed that the sailors, the white boys, used to leave and go off in the woods and play and stuff like that. He said, all right, next time they go, we still in this boat. Called his family on the cell phone and said, beat me at the dock at 10 o'clock at night. We taking off. That's the joke. Y'all didn't get it. Y'all said it. Nonetheless, they got on the boat with him. Now he was smart enough because he got to go through them waters. He got to go up through South. He got to go past the Confederate stuff like that. He put on the captain's coat. Know the signals to go past the port. He ended up in Philadelphia. His name is Robert Smalls. Oh, yeah. Brother, so bad though, when slavery ended, he went back to South Carolina and became a noted politician, helping other people. All that Harriet Tubman done, she did that. She went 13 times back and forth, and they was looking for that sister. They called her Moses. How you doing this? She wanted to, and she was helping strangers. But you have to ask her, how does she make a living? You can't. They weren't giving you stuff free. They got to make a living. She took odd jobs. She made a living on the way. They were so upset with Harriet that she went to Buffalo. That wasn't far enough. She had to go across the Niagara Falls over to a town called St. Catherine. I interviewed somebody whose great-great-grandfather was her minister in St. Catherine, Canada. That didn't stop her, though. She joined the Union troop and went down there to South Carolina and freed another 750,000 slaves in a battle. She knew where to go, what to do, whatever, how to hide and everything. That's the greatness in us. There's many people like that. We wasn't having it, and we found a way. That's what I call good black history. You can go to college. How you going to get an education? People say, well, dang, how do you get an education? Shoot, you know a word, and you know a word, let's put these words together. And they sitting there and they reading the Bible. So then the guy get mad at them. Okay, y'all can't do this and that and stuff like that. So then they start doing chants. Oh no, I'm hip to the chants. Now they start tap dancing. I'm hip to that. They found a way. Cornrows and braids and stuff like that. That was an escape route in some instances. That was the escape route. And they didn't, if you was in Louisiana or Alabama or something like that, you couldn't run all the way up north. That's a long way. You ran to Florida. Florida's under Spanish rule. You go down there and say, I'm Catholic. They'd even give you a gun. Fort Mose. Shoot back. They give you a gun. And we won battles. We won for our survival. This is the things that, this is good black history. But people, I don't know why they don't talk about it. I ain't know it. And I'm tripping over this. I'm tripping. I'm like, man, this is unbelievable. Some of these stories of what we've done. What Booker T. Washington did here at Tuskegee is unbelievable.
Right.
He was 25 years old when he became the president. Walking around these halls, you know where he walked in the schools and the buildings and stuff like that. And then he's seeing all these black businesses. This 1900, that's when he started the business league. 1900, what's that, 25 years after slavery ended? First thing we did was we started those Masonic orders and we started those insurance companies because we couldn't bury one another. All the insurance company is, hey, you give me $5, you give me $5, you give me $5. I take some of the money, I go invest it, and then when somebody dies, I got the $10 to go ahead and help bury them. So they got a good burial. In Detroit, we got a black-owned cemetery that goes back to the early 1900s because back then, they had to bury him at night or not at all. So some brothers who were lawyers and doctors and whatever came together and said, hey, man, we're going to get our own cemetery. And it ain't in the city. It's out in the suburbs. They tricked the people into selling the land. I remember as a kid having to drive past all this stuff to go way out there, about another 10 miles outside the city. Beautiful cemetery. Beautiful cemetery. So Booker T. Washington noticed all these black businesses starting up and stuff like that. He said, dang. So now we got the network. They got newsletters, they got conventions. They pooling their money together. He had all kind of little financing arms and stuff like that. I met a lady who said that's what happened. They went to the Booker T. Washington organization, got a loan. First thing that happened when we got our freedom, because we did have a little money, is the government came over that Freedmen's Bank. We put the money in the bank for maybe a little bit. Everything was cool. Then, something go wrong and they steal the money. We had money back then. How about this? You might not have known there were slaves who bought their freedom. Told you about some of them owning businesses. If you could talk that guy into, hey man, if one guy, he said, hey, how much is it? He said, it's $100 and a horse. Now, how much is $100 in the 1800s? That got to be $3,000. Brother came up with the money and with the horse. Then the guy tricked him and said, I ain't giving you freedom. Check this out. He sued him in court and won. There were people who sued in court for their freedom. We ain't having this. There's all kind of ways that we get past this situation. We find some people that's compassionate for us. And I always say this in my meetings, there were white folks who helped. There were white folks who helped. The Underground Railroad, it wasn't just black people doing that. There were white folks who put their life on the line. Frederick Douglass was taught by a white woman until her husband found out and got mad at her. But Frederick's like, shoot, man, I like reading. Then he talked to some of the other kids, the white kids, hey, man, I got some marbles. Can you trade the marbles for a book? They're like, yeah. Frederick got smart. Frederick tried to escape several times. Got caught. He said, I ain't having this, though. I'm not having this. So then he gets married. The wife gives him an ID that don't even look like him. How about this? I'm telling y'all a lot. You could be enslaved and go north without your enslaver. Did not know that. You wonder how is that possible? Hey, you got to go up there. You got to handle some business for me, blase, blase, right? But let me know I got your family back here. You don't show up in 2 weeks. Elizabeth Keckley was a fashion designer. So what the sister did was, okay, I'm enslaved. My pants don't fit. Master, I done lost weight. Elizabeth, go and tie them up, make them fit. Elizabeth, my dress is a little too loose. Can you make something happen to my dress? Oh yeah, I can do it. Then she gets good. Now she's designing her own dresses. She's probably one of America's first fashion designers. Her enslaved would allow her to go up north without her. She got so good that she's up there hanging out with Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife. That they best buds. Elizabeth Keckley then buys her freedom. Bought it. We wasn't having that. We figured out ways. And if we got so mad and we couldn't go north, we couldn't go west to Kansas and all them places, couldn't go to Florida, where we went? We hid in the woods. They call them a maroon community. I always wondered, well, dang, if I lived on the island, if I'm on the island of Jamaica, ain't but a little bit of island, I'm enslaved, how do I escape? They go to the woods. Then tell the man, you come up in here, we're going to shoot back. That's all Rosewood was. It was swampland. Rosewood, Florida. Thriving community, though, and they just let them go. Said, oh, man, we ain't going up in there. Alligators and stuff like that. They probably, knew the alligators on first name basis. I don't know. That's all Rosewood was swampland. And then they get mad at them because they thriving. Got a little business community, little church, little party stores and stuff like that, and everything going good. Then they get mad. Then they come looking at them one night. They accuse the guy of doing something with the white girl. The guy had nothing to do with her. She was messing with somebody else. Get mad and go burn the town down. That's always the excuse. Always the excuse. That's what was the excuse in Tulsa. That's the excuse in a lot of towns. There were massacres all over America. Wasn't just Tulsa. They had a massacre in Elaine, Arkansas. The black folks, the sharecroppers. They said, man, we tired of this. We ain't getting nowhere doing this situation. You tell us at the end of the harvest, we fall a little short. Man, we tired. We're gonna unionize. Get our own thing. Then they get mad at them. Killed 200 of them in one night in Elaine, Arkansas. All over America, just because you want something. But you gotta want something. You gotta put your life on the line for it. And when you do, and years later, you get a marker, you get a statue, and all that other stuff. I don't know if it count then, your family upset, but still. You made a mark in this world. Them people made a mark in this world. They gave their life for strangers. Don't even know. Harriet Tubman says, I don't even know half these people. Some of them don't even know they're enslaved. I got this story, and I got a bunch of them too. And there's some ladies in there. Y'all grown, y'all can handle this one. There's a lady named Hannah Elias. Hannah Elias, good-looking girl. Probably had a nice little shape on her and everything like that, right? She living in New York. Family got mad at her because she cute and got an ugly sister. Want to help the sister out. So Hannah Elias, they kick her out the house. She goes and she works in the prostitution out in the brothel. She hooks up with this white guy. He likes her a lot. He's giving her a lot of money. She's smart though. She invests in the money in real estate in New York. She becomes America's wealthiest black woman. Hannah Elias. The guy get mad at her. He falls on hard times and what have you. And then he sues her to get the money back, and he lost in court. It's all these kind of stories that people don't tell you, though. Because it's going to make you feel better. You're going to walk out of here and say, damn, I just did not know that. I feel better. The guy who founded Black History Month just ended, as you know, a few days ago. Carter G. Woodson had a PhD from Harvard. He was the second black to have a PhD from Harvard. Did anybody know who was the first? W.E. Du Bois.
That's right.
PhD from Harvard. And I'm gonna say Harvard is a big time school. No bigger than them HBCUs, but still, I'm gonna say it big time. He had a PhD from Harvard. And all he wanted to do was to chronicle black history so that we could feel better about who we were, because there was a lot of good history that he wanted to write about. Black history started as a week. Negro History Week, that's right. And why February? Oh, see, now this is what they're going to say, y'all. We got to complain about that. He started in February because that's when Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass' birthday. That's all it was. Ain't nobody else got a week. Nobody got a month. But we going to be upset with it. That makes no sense. Don't let them psych you out. Voodoo was not bad. I talked to somebody out in New Orleans. All voodoo was black people figuring out a way to get better because they wouldn't let you go in the hospitals. So now you eating the dandelions and the herbs and stuff like that. What we do today. I make them smoothies and stuff like that with that herbal tea and hibiscus and all that, trying to feel better. That's all that was. Now there's the bad side of it. I ain't gonna lie. Putting spells on people. There's always somebody to do something with it, but that's what it was. How about this? You could be enslaved and your husband or your wife be free and live in the same house. Didn't know that. That's just another dynamic. Just imagine us today back in the 1800s, 1700s, stuff like that. That's all it is. It's all kind of ways that it worked. That could happen. I was like, damn, how is that possible? My man got his freedom. He could walk around. There was a black guy who owned a business. He had a shoe shop. He didn't want to buy his freedom, because if you buy your freedom, you got a year to live in that town. He said, man, I'm kind of doing pretty good, and they ain't beating me. Did not want to leave. All kind of dynamics that they don't want you to know about. Don't want you to hear. Howard had a law school 2 years after slavery ended. How in the heck is that you got enough degree to go to get a law degree? Slavery just ended? I was just in Montgomery yesterday. I went by Dexter Avenue. I always go by there and say a prayer and stuff like that. But Dr. King, he was young. Dr. King didn't even finish high school. He went to the 11th grade. Morehouse was like, we need students. He's like, yeah. And he aced it. He had his PhD in another 4 or 5 years. He's the pastor of that church. And then all of a sudden, people saying, we protested and stuff like that. Who we going to get? But the guy who know how to speak. But I bet you Dr. King said, I don't want to do that. That's a death sentence. He ain't last but about 10, 15 years. He was in Memphis fighting for strangers and the sanitation workers when they got him on the hotel. But now there's a street in his honor everywhere in America. He's my guy. I wish it had not happened. But because of him and people like him, I got some freedoms. I got some things that I can do that I couldn't do before.